Hey guys, it's Liv. Just thought I'd tell you a couple of things before the episode begins. This was filmed pre-Miami, so quite a while ago now, but I had mock, so I didn't have time to edit it. It was still such a fun episode to film, and I hope you guys enjoy it, and bye. Hello everybody and welcome back to Global Racing Fueled by Fans. Before we begin, I just want to say a big thank you to you guys for all the support, but we are back for another episode. I'm Olivia and I'll be joined by Tabor. Do you want to introduce yourself?
My name is Tabor, I'm 16 years old and I'm from South East England.
What teams do you support? I feel that's a very important question.
Well, I've always been a die-hard Ferrari fan. Like, I will always be a Ferrari girl. But I feel like as like an F1 fan, I've always liked all the teams. Like, I feel like if any team got like a win, like if Williams randomly got a podium, I'd be so happy. So
100%.
I do like all the teams, but Ferrari will always be in my heart.
I agree. I love Ferrari. We're going to start off with one that you actually sent to me. So the Formula career on the Pit Stop podcast. How do we feel about it?
Well, when did this happen? Like 2 weeks ago, like the whole when the Spinning Wheels episode came out. That was when that happened. Obviously, it blew up. But when I saw the new episode with the Pit Stop Boys, where Correa was on it, I was a bit shocked, but at the same time, like, I feel like I saw it coming. Do you know what I mean?
That is true.
I don't know.
I feel like because if they just apologized, it wouldn't have felt like enough. So I'm not surprised that they did like a bigger thing. I think Correa is better than me because I would not have gone on the podcast. I'm not gonna lie.
I mean, it's very clear if he accepted to be on the podcast, he clearly like accepted their apology. But I still think what they said was unacceptable.
Exactly, but that might just be my opinion. I think he definitely was right about the whole cancel culture thing. It's not great that but like people just jumping on the bandwagon at some point because that's calling them out. And then there were people that haven't like even seen what they've done or don't know what's happened and they're still like, let's just cancel them. But yeah, I think there's a thing to say about that. But then also, if you're going to be a content creator, you need to know what you're saying.
Boundaries and stuff,
the career thing, I think you can't go on a podcast and not know what you're talking about. It's just...
Especially with some of the opportunities they've had, I think that's insane. That they would say stuff like that.
Like they've been allowed on like paddocks.
And they've interviewed some drivers. Like it's insane to think that they don't give a fuck about racing. Like
exactly, it's just then why have you chosen to go into this field? But that is, I've talked about before. I'm gonna let it go. But the actual podcast episode was really interesting. I think whenever I hear about Correa's story, it's like inspiring. It's like actually insane because
it's crazy to
the
think
mental
how
strength
much
you have to have.
He come back, like from the surgery, like the way he came back to racing was insane.
And the fact that he's still competitive. Honestly, so impressive. But yeah, let's talk about Baku because I feel like we have to.
I feel like the race itself, like on Sunday, it was quite boring. I feel like obviously we had Yuki Tsunoda and his flipping tire. We had Nick DeVries flipping DNF. But I don't know. I feel like what happened on Saturday with the sprint shoot, I feel like that took a lot away from the excitement that happened on Sunday.
That's what I was going to say. I feel like the sprint format, for all it was, there wasn't that much entertainment. Like there was no need to have qualifying, sprint, shootout, sprint, and also the race. It's just a lot of sessions, and they weren't giving too much.
Can we please talk about Esteban's pit stop?
We have to. The stress I was feeling. Why?
I just don't get it.
Why would you let photographers into a pit lane?
Like I understand it was what the last lap, and I think the FIA like allowed for the photographers to go in the pit lane, but someone should have surely someone would have noticed and should have told everyone.
Literally, and you can see
all of them.
That's what I was like. Maybe the engineer, like someone should have let him know. Second of all, the FIA made the rule that you have to pit. So how can you make one rule and forget about the rule and let all the photographers in? Like that could have ended so badly. Like
I mean, it's not even the photographer's fault. Like because they said they were allowed to go on the pit lane. So
exactly, I just think for all their rules, all the FIA stupid rules, like you can't trying to tell Lewis that he can't wear jewelry. oh, you can't do this, you can't do that, but then you let photographers into the pit lane. It's just like focus on the actual safety things and not on the physical things and like, oh, you can't climb the pit wall and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, celebration is insane.
Like,
and we're not allowed, and like then the drivers are not allowed to talk about political statements and all of this like that. So honestly, that's so stupid.
It's like they can focus on that, but they can't focus on
the
literal photographers.
Physical.
That's what I'm saying. It's just so. I just think it's so dumb. But yeah, I think Nick de Vries is someone that needs to be talked about as well because.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I really want him to do good going into the season.
Yeah, we're only in like the first few races, but I feel like him in AlphaTauri, like he hasn't, like I haven't seen a lot from him this season. I just feel like he just, I don't know, his place at Alpha, it's not looking.
I think, I'll be honest, this is my prediction. I think he'll be gone by the end of the year. Like I don't think he's getting another. I don't think he's getting an extended contract. Like, I think he'll do one season and he'll be gone.
Yeah, and I don't think like he's going to get a seat from any of the other teams. Like surely not.
Yeah, because Williams, they wouldn't change.
No.
And I don't see any other place taking him.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's a bit rough. But like his whole thing, he was FG champion, he was Formula E champion. His race at, was it Monza last season? Where he scored points. So, yeah. Where he scored points. I was like, oh, he's really good, you know? And obviously he's still a great driver, but what's happened? I don't even know. It's just like the silly mistakes as well that you don't really expect. I get he's a rookie, but I think also with his age, it's like he needs to prove that he should be there instead of like, I don't know, a 21-year-old. Welcome, Capri. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Capri. I'm 18 from Australia and I'm a Ferrari fan.
We're all Ferrari fans. That's actually great.
Oh, really?
That's actually perfect. Yeah. So we were just talking about Baku. So what are your thoughts on the Grand Prix?
It was like Red Bulls just are in a league of their own at the moment. Like the gap between Charles, like I was so hopeful for him, but then it was, got from 2 seconds to 6 to 8 and it just kept growing from there. But then I think like the midfield fights were really entertaining, like the fight between Alonso and Charles, and then also like even just for 11th between like Piastri and Hulkenberg, Norris, like all of that. Like it was a good watch, I think.
Yeah, 100%. How do you feel about the sprint format? Because we were talking about how there might be too many sessions because there's not like that much entertainment for all 4 sessions.
Yeah, I'm not too sure. I'm not the biggest fan of it. I did watch it, but I'm not just I'll watch it, but I'll obviously always prefer just like the normal race format, I think.
Same. Yeah. I think personally with F2, when they do the sprint race, they like reverse the top 8, I think, or like the top 10. So like if you qualify 10th, you start from first position. I'm not saying they should do reverse grid, but I'm just saying that works better, I think, than doing a whole sprint shootout, because I feel like, was it Alex that was saying that it kind of only rewards the top 3 teams? And I definitely agree, because
also realistically, do they even get points for that? Do they even get points?
They get points for the top 8, I think. So it's like, for the lower teams, what's the point?
Yeah.
Because like, if we're being honest, because there's like some teams that like barely get P10. Like,
it's just more chance of dangerous stuff happening during sprint.
Literally. And then Red Bulls just get more points, and that just makes them even further away in the championship. And now I thought that we have to talk about F2 at Baku, because I love F2. That's why I like my favorite thing ever.
F2.
Ollie Bearman.
To be fair, I've only just started getting into it. So
how are you finding it so far though?
It's so like it's so amazing, because I actually worked at like the Australian Grand Prix this year.
That's so cool.
And it was just so incredible. Like the F2 and F3 paddocks were just open to like the public. Like anyone with a general admission ticket could just walk in.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was so amazing. And just seeing like the potential future F1 drivers, like they are literally the future. And some of them are so young, like Ollie Bearman this weekend with like the clean sweep. I was
literally,
oh my god,
my age. I was like, what? I'm doing nothing with my life, and he's out here like.
No, literally, it's so. I've been watching F2 for a while now, I think since 2021. So honestly, seeing drivers get from F2 to F1 is the best feeling ever. For me, Logan Sargent, I saw go from F3 to F2 to F1, and just like you see the progression and you see them getting better at driving, and 100% what you said, their ages is literally so ridiculous, like that they can drive that well at such a young age.
What's your guys' favorite F2 drivers?
It's a good question.
I love Jack Doohan, probably just because he's Aussie. So like,
I love Jack Doohan as well. I say Jack Doohan. I've got a couple actually though. Jack Doohan, Ollie Bearman, and Frederick Veste. I think those three are really good.
I think Ollie is probably my favorite.
Yeah.
Good taste. He took the clean sweep. He was first in free practice. He took pole position.
Session.
Yeah, he won sprint. He won the feature race all at 17. That's really
surely
he's going to be in F1 really soon.
Oh yeah,
and doing well.
Like
as well.
I was just so amazed. Like I was talking to someone about it, and we were just sitting here like, what are we doing with our lives when he is traveling the world? Like,
no, literally. And I think especially because this season so far, it hasn't been great for him. He took P2 in qualifying at, I don't remember, but he got hit by Victor Martins, which was a shame. But for him to bounce back like this was absolutely I can't even speak. Phenomenal. I think other drivers that stood out for me, I think Frederick Vesti with his podium was really good as well. But Dennis Hauger, he nearly won sprint race, but then he crashed out. I think pace-wise, Dennis is really one to look out for, but he seems to like not end the races in the position he should be ending them. And there's like mistakes, but if it's every single weekend, Rebel might not look towards him because there's 6 Rebel juniors in F2. So it's like you have to be beating them consistently. But how do you feel about table chair?
My mind is just blown. Like I will probably keep repeating that, but like the fact that like the pressure that they must go under, because they are like, obviously they're not in F1, which I know is in itself an immense amount of pressure. But I feel like F2 is so much more than people realize. They're kind of just like, oh, they're not there yet. They're not the top, but they have to work so much harder to try be recruited. Like even if they're in junior programs, like Ferrari Driver Academy and all that, they still have to be better than the other people in there to potentially, like the very slim chance that they do, but like the potential that they can be handpicked into F1. Like it's just so crazy.
Yep. What's your guys' favorite like team in F2? Like, are you guys MP Motorsport, Prema?
Last season, MP Motorsport, because I'm like the biggest Felipe Dragovic fan. This season, I would go Prema as well because Prema's really good.
I think Prema as well, just because I'm also getting into F1 Academy, and I've been following Bianca for a while as well, and seeing her as well.
F1 Academy not being broadcasted. Have you all heard about that? Oh my god!
We have to talk about it because I think we watch racing. You don't read racing. Why am I reading words when I want to see overtakes?
Like, why am I do not really want to be reading flipping live time. Exactly. I want to see the actual racing. It's stupid.
Exactly. And I didn't think that would be something I had to say. I just expected it to be there. And they said they're going to do race highlights on a Monday or something like that. But I just don't get
why it's so late. Like,
I was going to say, like, they have like the facilities, like they post it on their Instagram and stuff, like of their races and stuff. And I'm like, why can't you just broadcast that? Because from what I've seen, like the outrage on Instagram, TikTok, everywhere, like everyone is fed up. They're like, why am I not watching
Literally.
This? So there is an audience there to want to watch it, just they don't have the opportunity to.
100%, because you're so right. They showed clips of like qualifying. I was like, so you're showing me clips, but you can't broadcast it. Some of the small categories like F4 and stuff, they broadcast. So F1 Academy
surely F1 Academy can,
literally. The other thing about F1 Academy that's kind of confused me is they have 3 races, but they're all on the same day. So I don't. Because every time I checked Instagram, it'd be like, oh, race 1 winner, race 2. But I was like, do they race for like half an hour, go back in? Because
like, how long do the races even last?
Exactly. Because we wouldn't know because they won't broadcast them. I think F1 Academy is because it's only 15 drivers, which like really isn't a lot. I think there's more space to get a podium or to get points, which is really cool, because if you're racing against like 30 other drivers, like, are you really going to get a podium?
Let's not.
Exactly.
X3 and the 30 drivers, insane.
30 drivers around Monaco as well. When they go around Monaco,
oh yeah, they're racing in Monaco this year.
Yeah, 30 drivers.
I don't know how they're going. There's going to be so many crashes. I just know it.
I know.
I was so surprised there wasn't like more crashes in Baku, to be completely honest.
That's
like
a good point.
One, like Nick De Vries spun off, but it wasn't like a full crash into the barrier. Like I was expecting so many like red flags, safety cars. Like I was
true.
prepared for it, but yeah, it's quite.
There's so many yellow flags in Baku. Oh my god.
Yeah, yellow but not red. The thing is with Baku, it's normally, I think that's why I was disappointed. It's normally so interesting.
Yeah.
There's always something going on. Like I remember 2021, we had Checo won, and then it was Pierre and Sebastian on the podium. I don't remember the podium last year, I'm not gonna lie, but it was more interesting than this. This was just like, it was all right, it was okay, but it wasn't anything crazy, I think.
I was going to say, to be fair, it probably seemed a bit boring because like the last Grand Prix we had was Melbourne, and that was
Australia was crazy.
Extremely eventful. Like
that is very true. I think Melbourne took all of the craziness from Baku, and yeah. But I was going to say, what teams have you guys been impressed with so far?
I feel like Aston Martin. Is that just
me? I think that speaks for itself, honestly.
Yeah. With Lance Stroll and Alonso being like up top recently.
Honestly, seeing Alonso on the podium all the time has been, I've really liked seeing it. It's like, obviously he won a championship so long ago. Not to be that, but like, yeah, it's like quite a while ago now. So to see him like still be so competitive shows that I feel like in the past F1 drivers had a cut-off limit. Like when you get to a certain age, like you kind of need to leave. But he's proving that drivers can stay for longer, and I think that's really interesting.
Have we all seen the Fernando Alonso and the Taylor Swift rumors? I really want to know where all of this stemmed from, because
Same. I'm pretty sure it came from like just
that like started this rumor though is probably having the time of their life, just like sitting back watching.
I was gonna say, it was like, I swear it's just like a random person just said it, and everyone went, okay, cool.
And the fact that Alonso is actually like paying onto it on his TikTok is so funny.
I think literally like, timing is so perfect. Well, not perfect, but like it's so coincidental that Taylor like broke up with her boyfriend and Alonso broke up with.
Did she?
They broke up. Yeah,
I didn't know that.
It's just like the timing is a bit too good. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. So, are they dating for real? We will never know.
We'll never know, because he's actually avoiding the question. So it wasn't a no. That's all I heard though. There was no no. What are our thoughts before Miami?
I'm really hoping it's more interesting than Baku. I think Miami will be interesting. Like Miami's always been interesting.
That's true. I don't love the physical track though.
Yeah. Really?
No, like, I don't know. The fake water, just even the track design, I just don't love it. I'm not going to lie. And it kind of hurt my eyes because, there's sponsors everywhere in F1. That's fine. But at Miami, I feel like the sponsors are really bright and like they're actually everywhere. And so when they were driving, it just looked like they're driving past like billboard signs. But
yeah, I think I'm a bit like more excited for Vegas, to be fair. Like,
oh my god, yes. I love Vegas.
I'm not loving the like Miami merch collections from the team. Have you seen them? Like the Red Bull and the McLaren ones. People are in the comments like, "Oh wow," and I'm like, "Oh, that's really ugly."
That's the thing with merch, though. Some of it is actually horrific, like it's actually disgusting. But all the comments are like,
priced at an insane price.
You're so right. For it to be priced that high and not even to look nice, it's just they need to get some better designers.
Williams did a like Australian brand as well, because there was a pop-up in one of the like malls in Melbourne, one that we went to, and it just like they tried to incorporate like the green and gold, like the Aussie culture, but then like with their blue as well, and it was just, I was like,
this does not look nice.
Yeah, it's just not great. I need to buy some more F1 merch though. I'll probably get it from like Etsy or like individual shops.
So broke. I do not. I'm like,
I just have payday, so I feel like I'm gonna get myself some F1 merch. But it has to be nice because I'm not walking around with some ugly Ferrari t-shirt. It's not gonna happen. It's just not my vibe.
I was gonna say I've got one piece of merch, and it's just like a red Ferrari polo, and it's just like a red polo with just like the little thing, and that's the only thing I own, because it's everything else, like with their logos and stuff, I get that they have to have it on there because it's branding and stuff, like the shell and everything, but it's just like it's not really nice.
I feel like it's so loud because it's so bright, it's so big, like.
It is. And the thing is, if you're wearing it out, an F1 fan's going to be like, oh, Ferrari t-shirt. But imagine you're just walking in the shops and someone just sees Shell, this, that, and the other. It's a bit much, I'm not going to lie. But I need to get one of those racing jackets.
Oh my God, I have my dad actually. So I'm Muslim, and it was Eid, I think 2 weeks ago. And my dad actually got me a Michael Schumacher jacket.
That is so nice.
I was like, oh my God. I've heard that you nearly got one, I swear. Like you posted a video a while back, but you didn't. It got sold.
And someone bought it for me. I nearly cried. Like
I was like crying.
Tears in my eyes, because you guys don't understand how nice it was. It was like white, because normally they're all like red and stuff. It was like a white jacket, right? And it had like the black writing, and it was so nice. And it was like oversized. It was like kind of leathery as well. It was perfect. And then it got sold. Yeah. Actual heartbreak. But you guys talked about Vegas. How do we feel about the actual track though? Because I think the track design looks a bit boring. I'm not gonna lie. Like it's just like a straight and then a few turns. But it doesn't look that good for actual racing.
There's not a lot of turns in the Las Vegas track.
No.
I do like the look of the track. Like I like that it's at night. But
I love my tracks. I feel like they definitely could have.
I feel like it would just be another like Red Bull sort of dominance, because if it's like such a big straight, they are just no one can catch them on the straights. Like it was very evident in Baku that like 20-second gap.
No, actually though, it's gonna be those overtakes that are actually painful, because they're gonna, especially with DRS.
I was gonna say they make it look so easy on Paul Charles.
Literally,
he could just go.
They just go. It's actually really sad. But I think Vegas might be one that they have this original track, and then they'll see how the racing is, and they might add a bit, or they might get rid of a bit, because at Saudi they had their original track and then they altered it as the racing continued to see what works and what doesn't. Another new-ish track, we've done a Grand Prix there before, but we're doing our second Grand Prix at Qatar. Do you guys like Qatar as a Grand Prix?
Oh yeah,
I do. I just think like it's just, I don't think there's a track I dislike, like I despise. Like I think I like them all relatively well. And Qatar was like, I thought it was like one of my highlights. Like watching it, I quite enjoyed it. Yeah.
Got quite a few races in the Middle East, so I think it's a bit different though. Like their track design is quite different to, like, your Bahrain.
It's always in the middle of nowhere. Like it's always in the middle of the
there was I was gonna say there was sand everywhere. And I don't remember if it was Qatar, but was it not like breaking the cars a bit? Like when they would go over the curbs, it was damaging the floor. Because if so, that's not great. But I just remember people complaining about that. But I'm pretty sure they got a 10-year contract, so I'm gonna have to get used to it pretty fast, because they're not leaving. They're gonna be here for a while. These new tracks, I don't know how I feel about them. I feel like we're losing other tracks in order to get them.
I think it's nice to see all of the new tracks. I think it like brings in all the new racing, but I don't know. I feel like I miss all the older tracks, but I think having new tracks is a positive thing. We get to see new racing. We kind of get to see if it's like a special new track with different turns. We get to see what kind of drivers can dominate in it. But
yeah, and I was just gonna say, like, I get that Drive to Survive has obviously blown up the sport quite a lot, and especially in like the United States. But is 3 Grand Prix in the States really necessary?
Oh my God.
Like
100%. I just don't understand. I did see a TikTok that was like, the USA does have different cultures in different like areas, so it does sometimes feels like they're not one big country, but at the same time 3 races is actually mental. I think as a whole, I definitely get what you mean about new tracks showing what drivers can dominate on different circuits, but I think when we lose tracks like Portimao and like our German Grand Prix gone as well, I think it's a bit it's a bit of a shame, because they were they weren't like the best tracks, but they were still very interesting at racing. And especially with Spa being at risk of being dropped from the calendar as well. I think, would I want to lose Spa to get Vegas? 100% no. Like, there's no way I'd want that.
Yeah, no.
Like, Vegas is pretty, like, it's iconic, but so is Spa. Like,
yeah.
So, like, it's like historic sort of. So much has happened there already, whereas Vegas is just like...
Germany was like a home Grand Prix for some of the drivers, and we've lost that. Like, I understand, like, USA, the only driver is what, Logan Sargent, but that's pretty much it.
And he only came this year.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like, Mick never got a home Grand Prix. For the last couple of years, Sebastian didn't get a home Grand Prix. Like, Sebastian Vettel didn't have a home Grand Prix. That's mental.
Oh.
It feels wrong. And yeah, I just think the other tracks are not giving as much as the old tracks were giving, if you know what I mean, for lack of better words. Because you can see what tracks are there because they bidded the most. Because obviously the tracks have to bid to get on to the calendar.
Yeah.
You can see what tracks were there because they paid the most, and what tracks were there because they have great racing.
What countries do you want to see where we have a Grand Prix? Like, what countries do we not have circuits at? Like,
I mean, I've always said I want a track in Africa, and I want them to go back to that continent.
Oh yeah.
For them to do every continent and miss out Africa. Obviously, I'm African, so that's my bias. But I think they definitely could do a track there. There's no reason not to. I think also the Malaysian Grand Prix was cool. That could come back.
Yeah.
That would be a cool one.
But I'm also trying to think, like, if new ones were brought in, like, what would they try get rid of? Like, if more would be
it's so true.
Like, do you remember a while ago when there was that, I don't know, like, people on, like, social media were talking about how they were trying to get rid of the Monaco Grand Prix? I'm just like, that's never going to happen.
I feel like Monaco is way too iconic to be getting rid of.
Yeah.
I was going to say, that's the oldest one on the calendar, so I don't think they should really go for that.
Literally.
And there was also discussion, because obviously the Australian Grand Prix is always in Melbourne.
Yeah.
There was talk, like, it was mentioned this year, like, commentators and stuff were talking about it, that Sydney was trying to steal it and take it to Sydney, and there was so much outrage. They were like, where will they put the track? Like, Albert Park's so iconic.
Yeah.
Melbourne's obviously in the state of capital of Victoria, so the Victorian, like, I don't even know what he's called, like, but the Victorian guy in charge of, like, the sport and everything, he said, no, we've signed the Melbourne Australian Grand Prix in Melbourne until I think it was 2028 or something like that. And negotiations will happen obviously before that contract runs out. Like, they're not taking it. We are the sporting capital of Australia, because we have the, like, Australian Open as well. Like, we're the only country in the world, not in the world, but city in Australia with a Grand Slam and, like, obviously a Grand Prix, and that's huge. So the discussion that, like, they might try take it to Sydney just because it's, like, a bit more popular to obviously non-Americans. But I honestly don't think they should do that, because it's just so, like, iconic. Like, Melbourne is also another sort of iconic one that I would not want to see, and obviously I'm a bit biased as well, but
no, but
I feel like the main reason for that is probably money, because obviously Sydney, there's loads of tourism there. Like, they're probably thinking, if we move the track to Sydney, more money.
All honesty, like, Sydney's sort of overrated, and that's coming from an Australian. Obviously there's touristy things like the bridge and the opera house, but other than that, that's sort of it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's also just my opinion, but yeah.
I think that's the thing with Australian, like, honestly, most countries, they're bigger. So it's like, the difference between Sydney and Melbourne is a big thing. But, like, obviously us in the UK, we literally live on an island. If they try to move, it's
I'm on an island too.
That is true as well. But, like, it's, like, tiny. So it's like, when they're thinking about moving it around, it's not that big of a... It's like, is there a big of a difference between going to Silverstone and going to, like, Donington Park? There's really not. It's, like, the same thing.
Like, can we imagine a circuit in London? That would be insane.
They did talk about that, didn't they? They were like, we might be building it. I don't know how to feel about that. For me, it'd be closer.
I really don't know.
Mind.
Yeah,
I could catch
the train. It would be easier to get there.
But, like, London,
I feel like the streets are way too, I don't know.
Like F1 in London.
Would they replace Silverstone with like a London one?
Because they shouldn't do that. That shouldn't
I was going
happen.
to say that should not happen.
Yeah, because I went to Silverstone in 2022 and that track is like, honestly, I'm going to call a track beautiful because it's so nice there and it's like lovely. And I think it works with it being a bit green around it because it's quite a green area. London, you'll be surprised if you see a tree there or like a piece of grass. It's so concrete there. Like, I don't think F1 would work at all because first of all, there's no space. That place is packed. I don't see a place for an F1 track in London. I just don't think it works.
Because you'd have to close off all the roads as well.
Exactly.
Definitely be a street circuit.
Yeah.
So
I'm trying to work out what that could possibly be. Like, it wouldn't work. And I think we've already got the London E-Prix with Formula E. And I think that's fine. You can have that in London and then you can have Silverstone. And then obviously there's a lot of racing in the UK. So there's places for everyone to really go to. But I don't think London F1 is necessary. That's just my opinion. I have a question for you guys. What would be your dream F1 team?
Ooh. Like with drivers, principals, and
I'm going like full on, like drivers, principals, everything.
Yeah.
I have to think about this.
Yes.
Oh, this is hard because obviously, like, I love Ferrari, I love Carlos, and I love Charles. But like Fred, like the new team principal, I'm not too sure about him yet. Obviously, he's taken on a huge role, and it's obviously going to take a bit to get on top of that and turn things around and work things out. But I think I'd say, like, team, if I'd have Ferrari, I'd have Charles first driver. I also love Checo, so I'd probably put him there as like second. And then as a reserve driver,
that's a good team. That's
Daniel
a good team.
Ricciardo. I just love him.
What team principal would you go for?
Or Toto Wolff, 100%. But I don't think he'd ever agree to leave Mercedes.
That's a good team. That's a good team. What about you, Tabor?
I don't know. I think for team principal, it would either be Toto Wolff or Christian Horner. Now, Christian Horner, as a person, I don't agree with him, like his sexist comments, whatever. But I think as a team principal, he's a good team principal. Like,
I 100% agree. Yeah.
And then I think for drivers, I think if Sebastian was still here, for sure, Sebastian Vettel. And low-key, I would want to put Daniel Ricciardo as my second driver. Because I don't know, I feel like that would be interesting to see Sebastian and Daniel together. For the reserve driver, maybe Charles.
That would be good. Yeah.
I don't know. And for like the actual team, definitely Ferrari. It'd be cool to see Daniel Ricciardo in Ferrari.
I'm gonna go for actual team Mercedes just because why not? I'm going team principal Christian Horner as well because I don't love the guy, I'm not gonna lie, but one thing about him is he will put himself on the line for his team. He doesn't care if people call him annoying. He'll literally he'll protest any move, and you kind of need that, to be honest. So I'm gonna go with Christian Horner. Drivers, I have to go with Charles Leclerc because I just have to. And I'm gonna go with George Russell actually because just why not? I just feel like it. And then reserve driver, I'm going to go with Ollie Bearman, even though he's technically not allowed to be in an F1 car. So I can't actually say that. Frederick Vesti. I teach Frederick Vesti. When Ollie gets old enough, Ollie Bearman for reserve driver.
I hope when Ollie gets to F1, he actually gets put in a good team.
Yeah.
I feel like that's potential wasted.
100%. No, I definitely agree because there's been so many drivers that have just had an unfair shot, I feel like, because Robert Schwartzman, for example, part of the Ferrari Driver Academy, he just never got given a seat. Or like Callum Eilert even. He was so good.
He was a left
driver. Exactly. He definitely could have been a really good driver, but just if you don't get a seat, you don't get a seat, I guess. So it's pretty rough. And I think in F2, there's been a bit of a theme of people winning the championship and not getting seats or not getting seats straight away, which I think kind of goes against it. I'm not saying they should get a seat immediately, but you'd think if you win F2,
your talent would be recognized.
Yeah. Like Felipe Drugovich, obviously he's part of the Aston Martin development program, I think, but there's no seat for him. And Fernando's not going to leave. And Lance is definitely not going to leave. And then
not
obviously exactly. And then Nick de Vries, he won back in, where did it go actually? I'm trying to think. 2019. He only got a seat in 2023. So it's like, I don't like that, to be honest. I feel like if you win, you'd think you'd be more priority to get a seat.
Yeah. It's also just, like, I get what you're saying, but also it's sort of just depending on like the drivers' contracts themselves. Like if the F1 grid is very strong and everyone's quite happy with their drivers and they've extended contracts or something like that, like they're not just gonna pay them out so they can have a unknown rookie sort of come in. But I get what you mean. Like it's like also like I just think it's so unfair. Like they've won it, they've done all this, they've worked their whole life and like, oh wow, a massive achievement, and then they just may never get to F1 even though they've done all this work.
You're definitely right. It's just that whole thing of money does matter over talent now in the sport. So winning F2, I feel like that's a show of talent, but if you don't have the sponsors, if you don't have the money, they're not going to take you up. But someone like Latifi or Mazepin, when they were there, they had a lot of sponsors, which means that teams would want to take them onto their team more, even if their driving is not the best. But
money plays a huge role in F1.
100%. It's like, it's just sad to see though. Like I understand 100%. Motorsport's a very expensive industry, but it's just so sad to see drivers that are so talented, but maybe don't come from like as much wealth.
I'd also like to say I am also like a Lance Stroll defender, because even though his dad is quite wealthy and, you know, may have assisted him in getting to F1, he would not have his seat if he could not drive. Like he would. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying to like all the haters out there. Like his 2023 performance alone has like demonstrated that he does deserve to have a seat, regardless of like, I know he started off rough at like Williams, like that was not the best, but he has grown and he has like developed over time. And like the people that are just like, oh, you know, daddy's money or this, I'm just like, grow up.
Yeah. Like I think even his time at Williams was pretty impressive at times. He got a few podiums, and you know, getting a podium at however old he was when he got into F1 is really impressive. Also, when he took pole in Turkey in 2020, that showed his speed. I think his first year at Aston Martin was a bit of a rough one, but people took that and ran with it. But there's so many drivers that are literally amazing that have had off years. It happens. And you know, we've had Daniel struggle last season. Doesn't make him a bad driver, though. I think people take a poor performance and they're like, that's it. That's that whole driver's thing. Let's disregard all their achievements. I just don't think it's
honestly
fair.
Like same with Mick Schumacher. I know he hasn't performed. He didn't really have the opportunity to perform amazingly, and obviously Haas, it does not have the budget like the other teams, so obviously the crashes and everything would be worrying.
Yeah.
But I just think like he was like treated so badly, and if he had the opportunity, he would really
nickname.
shine and succeed. But yeah,
100%. I feel like as I understand, 100% I understand before I say this point, but I feel like rookies aren't given as much of a chance nowadays. Like they're given a year, and if you don't just, I don't know, magically become like perfect in a year, people will immediately hate on you. They'll be lucky if they get a second season. Like in Mick's case, he was even seen as a bit lucky to get a second season with the team. But then after that, you just get dropped. And it's so difficult to get back into F1 once you've been dropped. There's so many drivers that thought that they would come back, I don't know, after a year or two. It just never happens.
I also think like that with Red Bull. Like obviously they have extremely high standards because they are championship winning team. But you know, when they got Pierre in and then he didn't perform, so they just like dropped him, and then they got Alex in and then he wasn't performing, and then they got checked. Like it was just a lot. And like you see like in Drive to Survive, I know that's like, you know, very like dramatic, but you see how hard they were trying, but they weren't obviously as well like jumping into a new car. it'll take a bit of time to like work out the kinks, figure it out. I just don't think they were given that time.
Yeah.
They were sort of, put in, oh, you're losing, you're not doing well. When in reality, they weren't doing terribly. They were, finishing 6th, 7th. That's still in the points. Obviously not where they want to, but it's not like they're coming dead last. So I think like that as well, like.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think it's definitely not where they wanted to be, but if we're being honest, at the time, Red Bull weren't necessarily winning races either. They were getting around that 3rd or 4th position. And I think even taking away the fact that they didn't give them that much of a chance at Red Bull, before they put them in the seat, they hadn't had that much time in F1 as a whole. Pierre had done like 1 season of Toro Rosso, and they were like, perfect, put him in a really high intensity team and just hope he does well. And then Alex had even left, he did half a season at Toro Rosso, and then it was just like put in the seat, and they just hope that they're going to succeed. I get it worked with Max, but not everyone is Max Verstappen, and
like Max was a rookie before. He wasn't this amazing driver.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
and it's the fact as well that they were like they would talk about it and they'd be like, oh, they need to keep up with Max. Like, that's how we're evaluating them, not on their own performance, but like if they can keep up with Max, which obviously would make them feel so terrible. Like, obviously they're being overlooked because it's, Max.
Yeah.
And like, also speaking of Max, the whole George Russell at Baku this weekend, that was so.
I cannot believe he called him a dickhead on live television.
I know.
Like,
and I just love how he's like, I'm not going to move over just because he's Max Verstappen. I'm here to win too. Yes,
it's true
absolutely.
though.
No, it's true. I think there's this whole thing of, obviously George is different because he drives for a different team, but we're expected to move over for that like world champion or whoever it is, because before Max it was that whole thing with Lewis, like Valtteri should always let Lewis go past. It's like, I get that these are team orders and I get that these drivers are so amazing, but we're all competing at the end of the day. Just because you're leading the championship doesn't mean you like deserve to win every single race. Like, you still have to do it yourself.
And does it mean he will win the championship? Like, we're only 4 races in?
You're so right,
still
honestly.
A long season left.
Like, don't get too comfortable because anyone could come out at the end of the day. So, but I think with the Red Bull thing, they've created their own monster in a way. Like, they've created their own issue because they have so many Red Bull juniors. And I get they think to themselves, oh, we're getting all the talent, but it means there's not enough seats in F1. They're even lucky to have 2 teams, but there's not enough seats in F1. So then if you do not perform in AlphaTauri, then they'll drop you really fast because they've got so many like backup, because they've got 6 drivers in F2. Like 6 Red Bull juniors. That's crazy, all competing against each other. And then, so what do you expect if you've got that many drivers? Like,
exactly. I honestly don't think, because I'm pretty sure Yuki's contract is up at the end of this year. I honestly don't think they'll re-sign him, which is a shame because I know he's not performing amazingly, but like, I just love him. He's such a nice person.
I love Yuki.
He's clearly such a good driver as well. He has so much potential, but this Red Bull little thing they've created is so toxic. And I mean, the second Pierre left, I was so happy. I thought he was going to be stuck in that place forever. Like, when he was doing like 5 seasons in AlphaTauri, I was like, oh my gosh, he's like actually going to leave. But like, I think this whole harshness of Red Bull kind of started with Daniel Kvyat, because obviously he got dropped before Max. And then he was stuck in AlphaTauri. He got dropped again. He got put back in AlphaTauri. I feel like, I get they can do what they want, but it just feels kind of, mean.
They have the money to do it, so.
Exactly, so they can do what they want, but he's doing well now in World Endurance Championship, but it's just a shame when you see these things. And the crazy thing is the drivers are so young, like even now, and they've been through this whole cycle so many times.
And the drivers aren't getting any older, they're getting younger and younger every year.
Exactly. Like we said with Ollie Bearman, he's 17.
Yeah.
Like, you might be in the lower categories that like 22 thinking, oh, I'm pretty young, because 22 is young as an age, but now even in the lower categories, 22 is like, oh, you're one of the older ones in F2 and stuff, which is crazy. They've got such a weird view of age, I feel like, in motorsport.
Like, it's also just the fact that Ollie Bearman drove like race cars before he could legally drive a regular car on the road.
Literally.
So
like some of these drivers start karting at 3 years old. 3. Like
I think my mum would be terrified. I feel so sorry for all of their mothers.
Yeah.
Especially when they have big crashes. That must be like a stomach drop moment. 100%. But like, yeah, starting karting at 3, then getting to race cars at 15 is like mental. And the fact that people are going up a category a year as well, they just get there so fast. And then I'm here 16, just like going to school like a normal person. Come home, watch a bit of TV, watch a bit of F1, leave. But like driving cars around the world is crazy. But then it's that whole thing of like, they compromise a lot to race. Like you're compromising your social life, your school life, your sometimes like your hobbies,
your whole family life as well. Like, because it's not cheap. It's quite the opposite, actually.
Yeah.
Like, I just, when I first like got into Formula One, just like Esteban Ocon's story really stuck out to me, that his family lived in a caravan to support him. Like that's just amazing on his parents' behalf. Like they truly like believed in him. And I think that's why he is succeeding, because he had that like unconditional support. Like they literally gave up nearly everything for him. And that's just
the
incredible.
The fact they can put all this effort in, like from so young, they start karting when they're 3 years old, and when they get to 17, they maybe get taken on into an F1 team, and they can get a job like that, and their whole career is done. I think that's insane.
Exactly. And it's not like in the whole of motorsport, there's not that many seats like available because you get dropped, and especially people that get dropped like last minute. I feel so bad because you don't have time to like work out where am I going to go now, what am I going to do in my career, and I think
because your seat isn't guaranteed.
Exactly. Like ever. They can drop you halfway through the season if they really wanted to. There's always like in the contracts, they always have some sort of clause that like we can do this if we want, we can swap you out if we want. And I think it's just horrible. But my other thing is, right, imagine you start karting at 3, right? You're like 17 now, you're doing racing cars. Your family has moved around the world for you, and like you realize you don't really like it that much. I feel like you'd feel a pressure to keep going. I feel like you like have to keep going though.
Always wonder that. Like I'm always like, have they fallen out of love with it and just don't like, because again, like they have, like they've just given up so much. Like their whole, like the individuals themselves have given up their childhoods to try pursue this. Their families have supported them, and then imagine getting to like F2 and they go, oh, actually, I don't really like this anymore.
Like I don't love it.
The pressure.
Basketball.
Like you were 7 and you asked for a kart for your birthday. Now you'll stop doing it at like 20 years old, so you can't get out of it. Yeah, I just keep going probably because if my whole family's moved and stuff,
I don't think I'd be able to take on the pressure of letting everyone down.
Yeah, that's so true.
Especially because their whole lives are sort of publicized as well.
Yeah, like from such a young age as well.
Exactly. Like imagine being 18, 19, having every move criticized on TikTok, Twitter, whatever it may be. Grown people, like adults, saying you're terrible at driving or that you should give up and stuff. That's like, you have to be so strong mentally to be dealing with all that. And that actually reminds me of something. In one of the Screaming Mills episodes, Marcus was saying how they have to get like media training in the Ferrari Driver Academy. And like, imagine you're 15 years old, you're being trained how to talk to a journalist because everyone's trying to get something out of you. That's so like
and if you say something wrong, you get dragged for it.
Yeah.
Like one wrong move, you're done for. Like
that's also why I have so much respect for like the F1 Academy girls. Like the amount misogynistic guys.
The comments I've seen in their Instagram posts are insane.
Yeah, like go back to the kitchen. You know, you're gonna like, oh, this will be fun. They're all gonna crash, like things like that. Like just because we are female does not mean we are incapable of driving a race car. We all like a lot of these girls are probably better than you. Like
literally,
it's true.
It honestly exposes them so much. Honestly,
I don't see them in a like F4 race car.
Like, and literally, I just don't. I just don't understand how you can see a woman in a car and that like annoys you, that like genuinely like lights a fire, and you're like, oh, I have to say something. Like I can't let everyone not hear my opinion. It's so important. It's just so.
That's why I thought it was so like amazing of Esteban Ocon. Have you seen that interview where he's talking about Bianca and like how just how like she trained, like how well she trained and everything? I was just like, see, that's if people see like respected F1, like people in F1, such as the drivers and stuff, talking about it, like I think they should change their mind. Like they should have a change of heart. Like, oh, this is actually incredible. It's not silly or something like that.
Yeah. Like, and I'm so happy that more of the F1 Academy drivers are becoming part of literal F1 driver academies. I'm pretty sure Lena Buell is part of the Sauber Academy. We've got Abby Pulling, who's part of Alpine. I think it's really nice to see these drivers like being backed up, because it's so expensive to do it by yourself. And being an individual, especially a woman, a lot of them struggle to get sponsors. So trying to fund a racing career is really difficult. So I'm really happy that the F1 teams are noticing these women and taking them seriously and actually putting them in the academies.
I love how it's not separate. You know, some sport teams and other sports, they have like a female account for like their Instagram or something, and then a male one.
Yeah.
Whereas Prema, they posted Bianca's podium, and like the same with the Ferrari driver academies. It's all connected. So even like if you just follow Ferrari driver academy, you will be like, oh wow, that's amazing.
This driver, that exactly.
Yeah.
I also like how there's not just F1 Academy. So it's not like, okay, we'll make F1 Academy and every girl that's racing has to go there. We've also got Sophia in F3. We've got a couple women in Italian F4, Freca, like they're all around. It's not like we're being like separated and like go to F1 Academy, don't come out or anything like that.
F1 Academy is sort of equivalent to F4, is it not?
Yeah.
Do you think they will, like, as if it takes off, if it gains a bigger audience and grows, do you think they'll make like a female version of eventually like F1? Will they have like a female like F1 Academy of like F3, F2, F1 sort of thing?
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about having a separate F1 for women.
That's what I sort of thought, like before I said it. I was like, oh, maybe. But like I feel like it'd be good and bad, because why should we not be allowed to race the guys sort of thing?
Yeah.
But then also as well, it would give so many like aspiring female drivers like the opportunity as well.
It's so true.
But I think each to their own opinion.
I like agree and also like disagree, because I get what you mean. I feel like personally, I wish F1 Academy wasn't F4 level. I understand that, because Chloe Chong, she's like, it's her first year racing ever. So this is great for her. It's her grassroots level. But there are some drivers there that are actually quite experienced. And I feel they deserve to be in faster machinery than F4. Like F4's really not that fast. So I wish it was a bit faster, like maybe an F3 level car or something around that area, like faster. But then I also wouldn't want like a female F1. But I get what you mean. I feel like women deserve to have a faster car, because why are they being given like the like base level machinery? I get it's cheaper.
Obviously, it's again like very early as well. Like it's brand new, but yeah, I think that should be something that they like look into. Not like a whole series, but yeah, I agree. Like faster machinery, because like we should have the same opportunities.
Exactly. It makes it cheaper for sure, and like that's also an issue, the money, but it just means it's just another step. Like F1 Academy, the first stepping point is now F3. That's like, F3 is obviously an amazing racing series, but like I'm winning a whole championship just to go to F3, you know? Like I feel like it should be, if it was faster, you could like maybe go to F2 or whatever, because there's all these different options. But I think as a whole, if there was a female F1, it lets them get away with not including women. Like then they could be like, oh, it's not an issue though, because they've got their own series, they don't need to be here. But I feel like they should be held accountable. They need to let women in F1. So yeah.
What's a Grand Prix you're all excited to see this year? Like you're the one you're most excited to see.
Most excited? I'm looking forward to Monaco. Like I always look forward to Monaco. But then also I think the Japanese Grand Prix.
I think Monza and Brazil.
I'm so excited for Interlagos.
Exactly. Interlagos is always crazy. And Monza is always crazy as well. Because like the winner's always something different. There's always something going on. Obviously last season Max won, but it was Max's first time winning there, to be fair. And I want to see if the Monza curse continues. So yeah, Monza and Interlagos.
I think for me it would be Interlagos and Silverstone. Obviously Silverstone is like it's an iconic, it will always be iconic, and I'll always be excited to watch Silverstone this year.
Silverstone, yeah. It's such a good track, like honestly, but it's huge. Like extremely huge. Because when I went there, like I know F1 circuits are big, but like when you have to actually walk around it.
How was it last year? You got to see Carlos Sainz's win.
That was like amazing. I think the first part was very scary, I'm not gonna lie, because obviously Joe's crash.
Yeah.
But I didn't see it. So like where I was, I heard they were like, it's like how away we go. I heard driving. And I was like, this lap's kind of taking a long time. I was like, taking a while to get back around here. So where are they? And then I was like, I'm not really hearing engines either.
Yeah.
So I was just confused because I was near the start finish line, but I couldn't see it. So I was like near the end of the lap. So I was just very confused. And then obviously we found out and I was like, oh my gosh, that's so scary. But then it was just so good. The cars are so much faster when you see them with your eyes though. That's the
I know, they just shoot past.
Like the whole time you're watching, you're just like
they're literally just like turn your head like that. Literally. But yeah, it's such a nice experience. I think it's too expensive, but if anyone can like do it, they should definitely do it because it's honestly best experience of my life, I'd say. I'm so excited to go to more Grand Prix though.
I'm with you though, like you obviously know like, oh yes, it's a very big track, but until you're walking around it, it's insane. Like again, like I worked there and I entered, we had to come into like gate 1 to get our cred and everything so we could get back in and everything. And then I had to walk to gate 3 to pick up my uniform. And I ended up they had like little golf, like carts, like little golf buggies. I ended up getting like driven halfway there because they were taking someone else. And it was only like I got dropped off halfway and then I walked around like the other halfway and it was like a K and a half. Like, gate 1, gate 3, like, and there's 10 gates. I was like, oh my God.
I feel like when we see it on TV, we're like, yeah, like it's a track. They go around one lap. But
yeah.
I feel like you're in person, it's actually huge.
Because they do the lap in like a minute 10, a minute 20.
Yeah.
But when you're walking, you're like, how are they possibly doing that fast?
I was at turn 4. So, and I entered in at like, I think turn 1. So yeah, not even that far. And I was just like, oh my God.
Just like walking, honestly. But yeah, I think it was really cool, obviously, to see the podium as well. Seeing the podium was like a dream. But are there any Grand Prix that you guys want to go to that like are on your bucket list for Grand Prix?
I really want to go to Monza just because like the Ferrari energy will be insane.
I heard it's really chaotic there though. Like they don't have queues, you just walk.
Yeah.
And everyone gets really lost. That's what I heard.
Oh, like the line up. I don't know, like Melbourne Walk, like at the Australian Grand Prix where they like obviously walk into the circuit and everything. People, I had to go early obviously to pick up all my stuff, so I was there at 7 o'clock on the Thursday. So it was only free practice in the afternoon for F1, and there was F2 and F3 obviously through the day. But the gates didn't open on Thursday until 9, and I was going in at 7. People had been there since 6 o'clock lining up to be the first at Melbourne Walk for like a chance to get a photo or something with one of the drivers.
That's dedication.
So I was inside. I was actually in like the precinct when they opened it up to the public, and I honestly didn't know what was going on because I obviously knew like Melbourne Walk and everything, but I was like, why are these people? Are they trying to get a good spot for like GA, like the general admission? I was like, and then they just ran, like they were literally like pushing people over. Like
I saw videos of everyone running to Melbourne Walk, and I was like, okay.
Yeah, and it's like from gate 1, you have to like go across like one of the cross bridges, like across like the stairs across the track, and they're not very big, they're quite like narrow, so people like pushing people out of the way to like be the first to go up the stairs and everything.
Oh God.
And I was I was already in there. I should have just walked over there and like waited an hour to walk. But I did not know what was happening. I was like, oh my God.
I was gonna say, no more luck. I'd be one of the people that falls over as well.
Honestly, I'd be crushed.
I'd be mad though if I got pushed over trying to get to there. But yeah.
But
some of the countries
it's like a K from where the gate one was. I was just like, and they're sprinting. I was like, if they got there in time, they deserve that like barricade.
Sprinting, that's like actually insane. But Grand Prix I want to go to Monaco because Monaco's Monaco. Singapore. I really want to go to a night race, and then Interlagos because I love Interlagos.
I feel like I really want to go Abu Dhabi. Like, I know it's like the last Grand Prix, but I feel like the excitement of like being the last one and everyone's in a happy mood. I just want to experience that.
I was gonna say, I feel like that would be amazing because especially like last year's would have been amazing, like Seb's retirement.
Oh my God, yeah.
Like, and I just love how they all do like their little donuts at the end. That's just
the vibes. So cool. Yeah, the vibes there are like honestly amazing, and all the pictures and it's the night race. Abu Dhabi's definitely one that, but that's a must. Yeah,
I was gonna say I definitely want to go to a night race because just the fireworks and all the lights and stuff. It's just.
I feel like the track looks better at night. Like you can see everything.
But then also, how bright would they be? Like that would like cause a headache. I feel.
Yeah.
Because the lights are like crazy. I was gonna say because when you see like Abu Dhabi, I saw Abu Dhabi in the daytime, like racing. I was like, this is not very. It just looks boring. But when it's dark, it's like, ooh, Abu Dhabi. Yeah, but yeah, definitely season ender has to happen. I thought the season opener would also be really cool in the same way. Like the beginning and the end is like a must.
I feel like the beginning would be interesting because obviously they've had their preseason testing, but they'd still sort of be like figuring out the car. Whereas like I feel like it'd be interesting to go to the first and the last. So you'd see how they're like sort of struggling a little to figure it out. And then at the end, you'd see how they're just like sort of carefree, having a good time.
Exactly. Yeah. If I went to any Grand Prix though, I'd want to go to one that had like F1, F2, and F3 though.
Yeah.
I'll leave it off there, guys. Thank you guys for listening. I will see you guys later for another episode. It's going to be a while though because mocks have focused on exams. But anyway, thank you guys so much for listening. I'll see you next time and goodbye.